Hello and welcome back to another high altitude investing live stream. Today is the 19th of September and it's early in the morning over here. It's basically 6 a.m. over here in Utah, but I figured it would be a good time to do a live stream about crypto and let you guys know kind of what I'm thinking, what I'm seeing in the charts. Some of these coins are dropping a little bit. Some coins are falling more than others, especially the coins that we're seeing a lot of upside in the short term, like pump.fun. And I figured, hey, it would be a good day to hop on and do a live stream early in the morning like this and let you guys kind of know what I see in the charts, what you can be expecting in the big picture, and what you can be expecting in the smaller time frames as well. So I'm going to go ahead and share the link for this stream over on my X account as well as on Discord, and then we'll get started here. But yeah, happy Friday, early morning Friday. Don't know how many people will tune in since it's really early. I'll probably have some of my Australian viewers tuning in. A lot of the Australian viewers like to tune in early in the morning like this because it's a good time for them. So yeah, welcome everybody. Good to see you guys. Let's talk about Bitcoin. So Bitcoin is pulling back a little bit on the daily. You can see, if we just move this out of the way, we do have a little bit of a pullback on the daily candlesticks. Starting to pull back right here, and we're starting to fall below the body of this candle right here. Now, obviously this candle just barely started, so we have to wait until tomorrow to see where it closes. If this candle closes bullish, if we just get a huge buyback today and everybody piles back into the market and this candle closes bullish, then that would be very bullish. Now, if this candle closes bearish, if we start to see more downside on the daily candlestick and it closes bearish by tomorrow, then we could see a little bit of a pullback here on Bitcoin. Not a big one, not anything crazy, but important enough that you don't want to panic sell down here if the market does go down, because a lot of people will. A lot of people will get scared, a lot of people will freak out, and a lot of people will panic sell if there was even a small correction right here because people saw what happened over here. And a lot of people saw this big increase in value and they're still thinking, oh, when is this going to happen again, right? And a lot of people panic sold their crypto down here before we had the big recovery. So it's just the nature of human psychology for people to get afraid and to panic sell in these dips. So if this daily candlestick closes bearish, we'll know by tomorrow for sure. Then I will expect a little bit of a pullback here on Bitcoin. Nothing crazy. We're worth 116,000 right now. If we pull back a little bit, we'd maybe go down 4 or 5% down to our horizontal support level, which coincides with around 111,000 right here. 112, 111,000 per coin would be a good area of confluence. Now, we do have this falling wedge pattern as well right here that we broke bullish out of. So that's a bullish pattern. And you can see we did see a nice bullish move here on Bitcoin. But a lot of times, about 50% of the time, the market will pull back and retest support after a breakout of a wedge like this. So it is possible for us to pull back right here. Another thing that I like to look at with Bitcoin and with the crypto markets is the new moon phase and the full moon phase. About 50% of the time we do see a correction. Well, actually more than 50% of the time. I was just talking about the falling wedge breakout, so I just defaulted to saying 50%. But it's really with the full moon and the new moon, it's more than 50% of the time. On a new moon, that's this blue dot right here, you'll see a correction. And on a full moon, you'll generally see a pump. As a general rule of thumb, you can see some exceptions historically, but overall, See this full moon right here, we had a big pump. This full moon we had a pump. This new moon we had a crash. This full moon we had a pump. And in 2 days, on September 21st, is a new moon. So we could see a little correction here based on the new moon, full moon phase. Again, this is highly dependent on whether Bitcoin closes on this daily candlestick. So we'll know in the next 24 hours whether Bitcoin is going to close bearish here. If Bitcoin closes with a bearish candle, then I will expect a correction. If we don't close with a bearish candle, we could still push higher here, even in the short term. But all of this short-term talk does not change anything that we're looking at in the big picture with Bitcoin or with any of the crypto markets, any of our favorite coins that we've been talking about and looking at and discussing in the VIP area and even publicly on the channel as well. All of the big picture targets are still in place. If Bitcoin was to pull back again, this would be a very small correction, very negligible in the big picture. And also, it doesn't even have to. Bitcoin can push right up through resistance. It can close bullish in the next 24 hours. We could see a buyback, and it could keep pushing higher here. But I just want you to be aware of the new moon and the bearish close on the daily candlesticks in the short term so you don't panic sell your coins if there's a small correction. AC, what is up, my friend? Good to see you tuning in from Australia. I know that when I do these earlier live streams, you're able to tune in a lot easier than when I do them kind of when I normally do them because you're asleep. So Lapo, my screen resolution is bigger now, so it's harder to see. Lapo says, thank you for your content. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate you tuning in today, and I enjoy doing the content and making crypto videos and streams, and so yeah, thank you. Hope for the biggest bull market run ever. That is what I believe is coming. So in the big picture, everything is very established for crypto. Bitcoin has a huge higher high, higher low pattern, and we have a lot of upside coming in the crypto markets in the big picture. Even right here on Bitcoin, we have a nice V bottom right here. So this is a continuation pattern. If you go look at the S&P 500, you're going to see these V-shaped bottom recoveries over and over and over again. And the reason that the market does that is because it's extremely bullish, but there has to be panics. There has to be times where people panic sell their stock or their coin, whatever you're trading at the time, right? Here's the S&P 500 index. You can see this huge V-shaped recovery. This is really bullish here with the S&P 500, right? We have a strong bullish trend on the S&P 500. Crypto has a tendency to follow the stock market to a degree. There's a strong correlation. You can see a V-bottom recovery right here. So you'll see these V-shaped recoveries in the world of stocks, and whenever you have a powerful uptrend in the world of crypto, you're going to see the same thing too. These V-bottom recoveries. Here's another V-bottom recovery on the S&P 500. So that's what happened on Bitcoin, and it's a strong bullish signal. It doesn't mean that there can't be a small correction. You see right here on the S&P 500, we had a V-bottom, and then we came up and we had a correction right here before pushing higher. And then another correction up here, and then kind of a rounded bottom right there. So there can be small corrections along the way up, but if your focus is on the bigger picture, if your focus is on the big picture uptrend for crypto, you're going to come out on top, right? You're going to make money as long as you don't panic sell your crypto in these corrections. And the corrections are very, like a lot of times, especially if you're new to crypto, they can be scary in the moment. You can be wondering what's going to happen. but they're pretty short-lived. Even the bear market, except for altcoins, the bear markets can be a little bit longer. But especially Bitcoin, the bear markets are very short-lived. They don't last very long. They're typically a year or less, historically. So you just got to keep accumulating, stay focused on the bigger picture. Don't be afraid of short-term corrections. Buy the dip. If one happens, buy the dip. If it doesn't happen, keep holding on. You got to ride the trend. Let it be your friend. Don't try to fight the trend. Tuning in from Italy. Well, sweet. That is awesome. Peace, unity, love, and having fun, says, hey, brother. Been a while. Go Litecoin. Much love, respect from Scotland. Well, sweet. It's cool to see everybody tuning in from different places around the world. I guess that's what I get for doing an early morning live stream, because everybody in America is probably on their way to work, or they're sleeping in. And everybody else around the world is tuning in, so that's cool. Let's pull up Litecoin. But yeah, you guys kind of know my view on Bitcoin. I'm very bullish on it in the big picture. I'm expecting 250,000 is pretty much guaranteed. Like that's going to happen. In my view of the markets, Bitcoin is going to hit 250,000, right? Based on everything I've learned in my trading and investing, it's going to at least hit 250,000. But it could hyperextend to 400K. It could go pretty high. If crypto starts getting mass adopted, like we're starting to see the early signs of, then Bitcoin could go even higher than 250,000. Now, that doesn't mean your altcoins won't do good, because when Bitcoin really goes full force into a bull market like that, the altcoins take off. Bitcoin only rallies with the most dominance at the beginning of the bull market, right? It only has the most market dominance at the beginning, but as it goes full force, then you see the altcoins really take off and really go nuts. So same kind of thing here for Litecoin. We have a little bit of a sell-off here, but we're on support. So watch over the next 24 hours for a bullish close. If we don't get a bullish close, it is entirely possible for another retest of this lower area down here before we go higher. But again, the drawdown on that is very small. You're talking about 10-15% max before it's going to find support and go higher. This is the way the market moves, especially until it goes full-blown parabolic like right here. And even in the parabolic moves like this, when the market's really going parabolic, you still have corrections. You still have 20%, 15% corrections the whole way up, It's just the way the market moves. When you're full force parabolic, those corrections are diminished. You can see right here in 2017, mainly just pure green candlesticks. And the bull market for crypto will get to a point where it looks like this, where it looks like just pure green candlesticks, but that's not until kind of towards the end of the bull market usually. Then you start to see a lot more parabolic movement like that. So with Litecoin, I'm bullish, especially in the big picture. I'm very bullish in the short term. We could find support in the next 24 hours and push up higher here. Or we could come back down just a little bit lower and then go higher from there. It's just kind of whether we get a bearish close on the daily candlestick or not, right? But let's talk about the big picture here for Litecoin. So in the big picture, we have this big accumulation pattern. A lot of people see this and they think, well, Litecoin is probably done for, right? A lot of people see this and they think, oh man, this thing hasn't pumped since 2021 or 2017, So they give up on it and they think this thing is done. But that's exactly the psychology you don't want to have. You want to have the psychology of somebody that looks for opportunity, and Litecoin presents an excellent opportunity here because Low volatility squeezes like this, where we have low volatility over a long period of time, those lead to big breakouts. And the same thing happened right here in 2020. Litecoin saw a low volatility squeeze. So you can see how low volatility Litecoin was right here. It wasn't going up, it wasn't going down, barely at all right here. It was just really, really low volatility. And that's called a low volatility squeeze. And low volatility generally leads to a big parabolic run. And that's exactly what we see with Litecoin, only it's bigger than what happened before 2021, where we had this run all the way up to our old all-time high, and then a correction. It's bigger, it's more time, more length, and it's going to lead to a bigger parabolic run once it breaks up through this resistance, right? Once it gets above that resistance level, it's going to lead to a big parabolic run here on Litecoin. And so you got to think differently than what your average person is thinking. Like, you can't be following the crowd, and you can't be a hater. You can't be one of those guys that just looks at the market and it's down and he's just a hater and he just thinks it's never going to go up. Those are the guys that buy the top when everybody else is excited because they didn't buy the bottom. One of my favorite fractals to show here with Litecoin is the NVIDIA fractal, where NVIDIA did a very similar pattern before it went parabolic all the way to a new all-time high. And this took multiple years. You're talking about from 2000 over here all the way till 2015 right here before it really started to go parabolic. So that's 15 years of sideways accumulation. And Litecoin is from 2017 until 2026. So you're talking about basically 10 years of accumulation. Now, crypto cycles do have a tendency, even though this cycle is going to be bigger, crypto cycles are still smaller than stock cycles in terms of time. They happen faster. So Litecoin should be taking off very soon. We have 10 years, basically 10 years of sideways accumulation. Not quite, it's more like 8, but almost 10 years of sideways accumulation here on Litecoin. So imagine what's going to happen when all of this accumulation takes off. All of the people that have given up on it, all the people that are skeptical and cynical and they don't have the ability to see what's coming, those people are going to be really taken back when this coin starts to break out, starts to go for a parabolic run, and goes all the way to a new all-time high. They're going to be really surprised. So Litecoin is definitely on my list of coins that is very, very good opportunity to be picking up Litecoin. East Coast, what is up? Thank you. East Coast, Australia. Yeah, thank you for tuning in. That's awesome. Put your shoulder to the wheel, push along. Yes, Carrie. I love that song, by the way. That's a great song. It's one of my favorite songs. Oh, hey, y'all. Merry Friday if your time zone supports it. What's up, Fanta? Thank you for tuning in today. Magic Eden, please. Yeah, we can do that. We'll check out Magic Eden. Jack says Litecoin to the moon. I agree. Master Easy, hey D, what do you think about H-bar? We'll check that out after we do Magic Eden. Where do you think Litecoin can get to? I'm glad you asked that question, Carlos. How high can Litecoin go? You want to know the truth? It can go a lot higher than what people expect. If you measure the Fibonacci extensions here on NVIDIA, from the bottom here to the top and back down to the bottom of this first cycle, then we do the same thing over here on Litecoin. This just gives you an idea of what happens. NVIDIA became a household name. This laptop that I'm using to do this live stream right now has an NVIDIA graphics card. If you ask any 12-year-old that plays Minecraft, he's going to know exactly what NVIDIA is. NVIDIA is a household name. So NVIDIA started off as just this this graphics card company that hadn't had a big parabolic run. It had some market cycles, some sideways accumulation with some market cycles, but it was not a household name. And then it became mass adopted. Then you had the S curve. It's called a technology S curve. When technologies get mass adopted, they go into an S curve. The demand continually increases, and the demand drives price higher and higher and higher. And there's a tipping point when the market goes into this S curve where the demand rolls over, and basically it just keeps increasing because the market share is growing and it's becoming adopted, so more and more people are using it. It's kind of like the jack is out of the box and you can't stop it now, right? And so that's what happened to NVIDIA. NVIDIA went into a mass adoption phase, and that's when NVIDIA went all the way higher. See how overextended this thing is? See how high this thing went after that accumulation cycle? That's because it got mass adopted. And that S curve started to happen, and it changed everything. Everybody knows about NVIDIA, most people at least, and it's like a household name, right? Same thing happened with Apple. Same thing happened with Microsoft. It became a household name. Same thing happened with Amazon. And so how high can Litecoin go? To tell you the truth, I don't know exactly where it's going to go. I couldn't tell you, it's going to stop at 9,000 or 5,000 or 10,000, but I can tell you that it will get overextended, that it will go parabolic, it will go to a very high extension, and the best trading plan is to scale out. So when the market starts to do this, like this, over here on NVIDIA, you just slowly take your profits. You can sell 25% or 10%, then you wait, and you use these Fibonacci extensions to take your profits into these higher levels, and you keep some long term so it can ride, so it can go higher than you expect. Because the honest truth is nobody knows exactly where the top is. You can get estimates. I wouldn't be shocked to see a $5,000 plus Litecoin if it really goes for a mass adoption cycle. It wouldn't shock me at all. There's big institutions have put a bunch of money into this thing for a good reason, because they know that it could do what NVIDIA did, and that's why they're doing that. That's why they're putting so much money into Litecoin. So that would be my response. But let's do some analysis on Magic Eden for the live chat here as requested. So Magic Eden, I don't remember if this is this is on Coinbase. So let's just pull up Magic Eden here. We'll go to the daily candlesticks. Yeah, so this is a pretty typical thing for markets to do. This coin probably came out. Let's pull up charts.cointrader, see if we can get some more data. You guys know the drill, right? We always do this. Magic Eden. Looks like it's not on here, so we'll just have to do it over here on TradingView. Sometimes you can get more data on this charts.cointrader.pro website because it pulls from CoinMarketCap, so it has more data. Anyways, Magic Eden here did a very typical thing. If a coin gets created at the beginning of a bear market, which this one really did because we had a small bear market, basically a small correction on altcoins starting December of 2024. Some altcoins crashed harder than others, but we had a bit of a bear market, right? Or a correction for some and a bear market for others. So this is pretty typical for it to get released at the top of a big euphoric run. And when it gets added to exchanges, it just falls off a cliff because a correction needed to happen. A lot of coins purposely release their projects and stuff at the top of cycles when there's a lot of excitement because they know they're going to get a lot of attention at that time. And it's going to, even though the price will drop in the short term, it's good for the coin to get noticed because there's so much excitement about crypto. So you'll see a lot of coins do this. They'll get released. They might pump for like a day or two, but then they crash really hard. And then they go into kind of a bigger picture rounded bottom, and that's where you start to see it's going to bottom out at some point. And then you start to see these big recoveries where the market completely recovers after a huge correction like this. And it's very typical. And with Magic Eden, you can see these two big volume spikes, bigger than anything we saw historically before those spikes. So clearly somebody is buying a lot down here, and they're planning on a big reversal. And that's what I'd be planning on too. Let's see here. H-bar. Let's pull up H-bar and do some analysis on H-bar. You guys know that I'm a big H-bar fan. I love H-bar. One of my favorite coins. We're starting to see the beginning of a big reversal here for H-bar in the bigger picture. So let's go. We got to go somewhere other than Coinbase. Let's go to Binance, where we have more data. So this is kind of the full picture for H-bar, okay? We get the full cycle back in 2021, and then the bear market in 2022. So this is the real deal, right? All of the data if you go to Binance. However you feel about Binance, I know some people don't like them, but at least you can get the data on some of these coins that you don't see in other places. So my favorite thing to look at with H-bar, I believe H-bar is kind of like buying Amazon after the internet bubble popped. So let's pull up Amazon over here on the right, and we'll keep H-bar over here on the left. And what I want you to look at right here is the internet bubble on Amazon and the internet bubble pop that happened. And then the crypto bubble in 2021 and the crypto bubble pop. So that lines up perfectly. Then you can see Amazon started to recover, but then it got up to resistance up here, and it had a big crash. But that crash was not the end. That was the beginning of something big for Amazon. And you can see Amazon went all the way to a new all-time high. And that crash lines up perfectly with this crash right here. Right? So H-bar came up to resistance just like how Amazon did, and it pulled back a little bit just like how Amazon did. And I believe buying H-bar right now is pretty much exactly like buying Amazon back in the day in 2008. Not quite the bottom of the internet bubble pop, which would have been the best possible entry that you could have got after the internet bubble popped. But really good entry still, right? Here in 2008, really good entry on Amazon, because look at the growth that came afterwards. You know, look how much Amazon became a household name. I'm a big believer in H-bar. I could easily see this thing mass adopted and go for a full-blown cycle. We have the volume for it. We have the technology, the fundamentals, every reason on earth for H-bar to do this type of a run, like what Amazon did. So I believe we will see a big parabolic run for H-bar all the way to a new all-time high. $1 is going to be a piece of cake for this thing to hit $1. It's worth 24 cents right now, so my target would be much higher than $1 in the big picture. I'm not even showing you how high Amazon went because I don't want you guys to click off the live stream and think that I'm crazy. Because if I tell you how high Amazon went, you're going to think I'm crazy for how high H-bar could go. I mean, look at this thing. Like, I'm barely stretching out the chart, right? So I want you guys to be excited about crypto. Even if we have a correction in the short term, let's say Bitcoin pulls back 5% and altcoins pull back 10%, it doesn't have to. We can just turn around right now, you know. But even if we have a correction in the short term, the worst thing you could do is sell because of what's happening to crypto in the big picture here. What's happening is we're ready for mass adoption in crypto. And like I was talking about with this S-curve in the markets, when a technology gets mass adopted by the public, the demand grows and it doesn't stop. The jack is out of the box and that demand just goes to the moon. And that's what creates these big picture cycles. Yeah, you might have a little bubble and a pop early on like we see with Amazon, but once a technology gets mass adopted by the public, the sky is the limit. You see what happened here? That's what I'm talking about with crypto. Cool. Magic Eden, hey, what's your thoughts on H bar? We just did that one. RG is or RJ Tinks, not RG. RJ Tinks is tuning in from Australia as well. Thank you for tuning in to today's live stream, my friend. Velo Labs, big move incoming. I agree. I'm glad you brought up Velo because I haven't made a video about Velo in a little while. Not because I don't think it's bullish, but just because I only do about three videos per week. And so to keep all of the coins that I like to talk about updated on a weekly basis would be pretty much impossible. But I'm a big H-bar fan. I think we're going to see a big reversal here really soon. Up through our resistance, up to a new local high. And that will lead to a bigger picture recovery and bull market for Velo. It's definitely one that's on my list of coins that I believe will do a good run in this bull market. And this higher high, higher low pattern right here, along with more volume than we ever saw back in the day, clear signal that this thing is undervalued and somebody cares a lot about it. Somebody's putting a ton of money into this thing down here at dirt cheap prices in preparation for a big reversal and a big turnaround on Velo. Litecoin is faster and less expensive to use than BTC. Yeah, it really is. So that's the thing with altcoins. Bitcoin's gonna grow. Okay, I'm not anti-Bitcoin. I like Bitcoin. I bought my first Bitcoin in 2015. It's near and dear to my heart. Bitcoin is cool. I have nothing against Bitcoin. But Bitcoin grows because it has a big community, because it was the first crypto ever, and it's like what everybody talks about on the news. It's the oldest one. It has the longest, the oldest historical data, the longest track record. So Bitcoin is going to keep growing because it's kind of like almost like the S&P 500 of crypto or the Dow Jones of crypto. Bitcoin will keep growing, okay? But the honest truth is there's a reason that alt season happens, and that's because Bitcoin is not developing at the same rate that altcoins are. A lot of altcoins have way better fundamentals than Bitcoin does in terms of, being able to transact, scalability, all of those things. It's not that Bitcoin has bad fundamentals, but it's just that some of these altcoins are ahead of Bitcoin in how fast they can transact, how many transactions they can handle, what can be handled on the network. And so there's a reason that Bitcoin dominance drops off a cliff every single bull market. Yeah, Bitcoin dominance increases in the bear market and towards the beginning of the bull market, as Bitcoin always leads the start of the bull market. But once you're full force in the bull market, there's a reason Bitcoin dominance falls off a cliff. And it's because people get excited about the new technologies in altcoins. And they see the value in altcoins and they want to be a little bit riskier and go risk on and take some risk. And so they do. They take a little bit more risk. And they're rewarded for it as long as they take their profits, So altcoins, there could be a day when Bitcoin gets replaced by another coin. I'm not a Bitcoin maxi. I don't buy into the idea that Bitcoin has to be the one true coin that everybody uses for all time and eternity. Things get replaced eventually, but there's a lot of volume on Bitcoin, so it's going to keep growing. But there's a reason altcoin season happens, and it's because of the fact that Bitcoin it's not as developed as some of these altcoins are, and people get excited about the altcoins, as they should, because they make a lot more money buying the altcoins than they do with Bitcoin. Unless you're investing in a bear market, Bitcoin holds its dominance a lot better in bear markets. And Bitcoin does really good at the beginning of bull markets. But once you go full force, it favors holding altcoins every cycle that we've ever seen up until this point, and I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. And forget about the ETF, hopefully next month, brother. You know, I actually haven't been paying too much attention to the ETFs and stuff. I am looking into it a little bit, but I mainly look at the charts, as you guys know. So, but we will get more ETFs for crypto. There's only going to be more and more crypto ETFs from here on out. Like I said, crypto is growing as an industry, and the jack is out of the box, so nobody's going to be able to stop it. You know, Litecoin should be the Nvidia of crypto, the way it's the top 3 most used and accepted crypto. Too many bullish fundamentals to list. You know, it's really interesting that you brought that up because it looks exactly like Nvidia as I was showing you, but even the volume profile, Litecoin's volume profile looks more like Nvidia's volume profile than pretty much any other crypto. And I'm not saying the other cryptos don't have the potential to do what Nvidia did too, because once people get excited about any crypto, they start piling all of their money into all of them. And so it's a snowball effect, right? But Litecoin does have a very similar volume profile as Nvidia. I'll just show you super fast because I want to cover other coins. But it is true what you say. 100% true. What do I mean by volume profile? Let's pull up Nvidia again over here on the right and Litecoin on the left. Just real quick here, and we'll cover other coins because I don't want to spend too much time on Litecoin today. Though I am a big Litecoin bull, so it wouldn't be the end of the world. But look at the volume here. Look at this right here. Isn't this so interesting how we have this big spike in volume here on Nvidia associated with this first pump right here and this first crash? And then we have another big spike in Nvidia volume right here associated with this pump right here and this pump right here. So we kind of have this first big hump in volume, then another big hump in volume, then it kind of declines and then it humps up again. So let's delete that and grab the brush tool. So one big hump, another big hump, and then another big one right here. Look at Litecoin. Look at that big bullish volume increase associated with this first big pump. So our first hump in volume, our second one associated with our second pump, and then look, another one right here. So the volume profile is extremely similar. And this is only on Coinbase. This isn't including all of the different exchanges that that Litecoin is traded on. Because Nvidia is a stock, so all of the volume is on the NASDAQ, or most of it, right? But with crypto, you have tons of exchanges. So if we were to compile all of the volume across all of the exchanges, you'd even see more. So that's something to be aware of with Litecoin. It's shocking how similar what we're seeing happening right now with Litecoin, what we've seen historically with Nvidia. Really cool. Parallaxian says Litecoin is faster and less expensive than Bitcoin. So yeah, there's a lot of people that are really bullish on Litecoin in the live stream, and I agree. AV says you're still early. Yes, we are very early to the crypto bull market. And it's going to get a lot more exciting from here. Let's see here. A real surprise live stream. Yes, this is an early morning surprise live stream, Matt Osty. Thank you for tuning in to today's live stream. If Amazon is H-bar, Theta is the next Bitcoin. If you want to know my honest opinion, that's what I posted on my X account, and it really is. Like, Theta is the next Bitcoin. I really firmly believe that. It's like buying Bitcoin in 2015. So if you feel like you missed the boat on Bitcoin, first of all, it's going to go higher still. Bitcoin isn't done for. It's going to go higher. I really believe that with all of my heart. Even though the altcoins will go higher, Bitcoin is still going to go higher, but theta is like buying Bitcoin and back in the day. So if you feel like you missed the boat on Bitcoin and you want to buy something that's dirt cheap right now, stupid undervalued, before it goes parabolic like how Bitcoin did and becomes a big thing, then buying theta right now is like buying Bitcoin back in 2015 when it was super undervalued before it became a big thing. So that's what theta is for me. Theta is the next Bitcoin. But also, because cycles are so similar and so many similar patterns we see in these markets, you could also say that investing in theta is like buying the stock market after the internet bubble pop, right? I mean, tell me that there's a big difference in these fractals. There really isn't. This is the internet bubble on the right there. There's a little bit of a bigger bounce, but altcoins don't have as big of a double bottom pattern. If you go look at Ethereum in 2018 and 2019 and 2020, looks a lot more like theta. Altcoins don't have a big double bottom. They have kind of a smaller, more hidden double bottom down here. But this right here, this bull market and bear market on theta, it's like the internet bubble, So buying theta is like buying early day Bitcoin or buying the NASDAQ or top internet stocks after the internet bubble popped before it recovered and went to the moon. Good to catch your live stream, Dallin. We have to be so patient this cycle. Yeah, I agree, Paul, and thank you for tuning into today's live stream, man. We do have to be patient this cycle. It's true. This cycle has taken longer. It's been more accumulation, more painful, more patient than anything we've ever seen. But I think it's going to lead to a big run, and people will be very thankful that they were patient because of kind of the what's coming. It's all of that patience is going to lead to a really big move, and it's going to be happily rewarded for all the people that are willing to be patient, right? How can I be excited when the price of altcoins don't go up? You got to get excited about what crypto is about. You got to get excited about what's going to happen. Even if you don't see it, you got to believe it before you see it. And don't be cynical. That's the worst thing you could possibly do, right? But I trust that you're smarter than being cynical, and you're going to keep a positive perspective on the market, not to be a blind optimist, but to be aware of what's really happening, right? What's really coming. So, hey, Dallin, hope you're having a nice Friday. Yes, I am. Thank you, Paul. The situation with Amazon is very rare. No. That's a good point. So, it's not as rare as you would think it is. Like, I could show you a lot of different stocks that saw very similar recoveries after the internet bubble popped. It's not just Amazon that saw a big recovery after the internet bubble popped. But with crypto, if you're worried about whether your coin is going to see a big parabolic run or not, just go check and see, okay, how much market cap does it have? Because a lot of the top market cap coins have the volume that's going to be required for a big parabolic run. They have the institutional volume, they have the infrastructure, they have the community, they have what's required for a big parabolic run. Yeah, you're being a little bit more risky if you go down to like under the top 100 in market cap. It's a little bit more risky in terms of whether it's going to see an Amazon type run. But there was a lot of stocks that went up like Amazon did after the internet bubble popped. After the big pop happened, they recovered and they went to the moon. So market cap and volume are clear indicators that that thing is going to go to the moon. And we have both of those things with H-bar. We have a lot of volume and a lot of market cap. So it really is set up to do something like Amazon. Caesar says, Dallin, I'm present, teacher. What is up? Thank you for tuning in. Good to see you. I'd love to hear your current thoughts on Telcoin. Yeah, let's pull up Telcoin. Do some Telcoin TA. So Telcoin is a perfect example of the Ethereum fractal. Oops, there we go. Pull up Ethereum over here. Ethereum dollar, and pull up Telcoin. So this is the Ethereum market cycle that happened between 2017, 2018, 2019, and 2020 before it went into a new cycle, right? And Telcoin is the same thing. Telcoin did the same cycle as Ethereum. It's the same pattern as what Ethereum did. So you can see the big pump, the big ABC correction that happened after that pump here. Big, huge ABC correction here on Telcoin. Big ABC correction on Ethereum. And then you have this kind of low volatility bottoming pattern down here where everybody is kind of skeptical. This is called the disbelief phase. So there's a reason why so many people are in a state of disbelief, right? It's literally called the disbelief phase of the cycle. Before a new big parabolic run happens, that is called disbelief. So 90% of investors are going to be in a state of disbelief. They're not going to believe the market will do this, right? But it does. It recovers and goes up and goes nuts. So Telcoin right now is preparing to do what Ethereum did in 2021. That's why it's so useful to know the cycle, to know the emotions of the market, and to utilize that to your advantage so you can make the most money possible. Dogecoin. Dogecoin is another one of my favorite coins. And Dogecoin, back to another coin that's like buying early day Bitcoin, like how I talked about with theta. Dogecoin is like buying early day Bitcoin. It really is. It's the same as if you were to buy early day Bitcoin. Let's pull a Bitcoin on Bitstamp and go over here on the right. Look at that. I mean, tell me that that's not the same thing. And if you don't know about the way markets work, study the human emotion of a market cycle. It gives you so much insight on the psychology of the market and how to play these markets to maximize your profit and make the most possible profit. And if you're wondering if Dogecoin can do a run like Bitcoin did, this thing has been on the top like 10, 20 in trading volume on the monthly volume rankings for years. So Dogecoin does more volume than Litecoin. Now, I'm an uber bull on Litecoin. Don't get me wrong. But Dogecoin does a ton of trading volume. More than Cardano, more than AVAX, more than Binance. Almost as much as XRP. And the market cap is smaller than XRP. So Dogecoin has plenty of volume to see a big parabolic run, just like how Bitcoin did over here, and a big run all the way up to a new all-time high, and a full-blown recovery. It's got all the volume it needs to do that. So stay bullish on your Dogecoin. If you're a Dogecoin bull, I'd say stick with it, you know? Look how cool this is. Here's silver. Isn't it crazy how these cycles just repeat over and over again? The same pattern over and over again. Look how similar silver is to Dogecoin. See this correction right here on silver? Now look at this on Doge. Now tell me that the Doge is not doing the same cycle of human emotion that Bitcoin did previously and that silver is doing right now as we speak. Dogecoin is just a little bit behind, but it'll catch up. People are getting excited about crypto. It'll catch up. Coinbase not listing theta has obviously held it back to this point. Interesting to say the least. Yeah, so theta, I firmly believe theta will get more listings on major exchanges. A lot of people don't realize that theta is on Binance, like Binance US. So that's where I personally buy my theta, is on Binance US, right? Because all I have to do is deposit crypto, like any of my favorite cryptos, to Binance US, and I can buy theta very easily. So Binance is a big exchange with a lot of volume, and you can also do it with Binance non-US version, and it's on other places too, but yeah, it's not on Coinbase yet. But I do believe it's coming. I firmly believe theta will get listed on major exchanges. And sometimes coins get held down. They get accumulated by the big whales, by the big institutions. And then once they're all positioned, then they put it on the big retail platforms. And then they go to the moon once the big players are positioned. And that's what I believe has been happening with theta. It's been accumulated by big players. It's really ready to take off, and they're going to send it to retail money very soon. And send it to the moon and beyond. The longer you are in crypto, the more patient you become over time. Your time preference definitely increases to your benefit. Fanta, that is a very good point. Crypto teaches people patience and resilience and long-term thinking and self-discipline and controlling your emotions. In fact, if you want to become a disciplined person, crypto is a great way to learn discipline, self-discipline, patience, focusing on goals, focusing on the big picture. It'll either make you or break you. It will teach you those things, or you will give up, basically. So, David says, thanks to this channel. Yeah, thank you, David. Thank you for tuning in. AJ, Dallin, do you think the 4-year crypto cycle has been broken? Yeah, I think that we are breaking out of a 4-year cycle, and some of the evidence of this is coins like Litecoin. I've been talking about Litecoin a lot in today's stream, but coins like Litecoin is a great example of a potential breakout of a 4-year cycle, because even though we did have 2 4-year cycles right here, now we're set up to deviate from that, and with the NVIDIA fractal that I was showing earlier, where NVIDIA had a similar thing where it had 2 cycles in the same way, right? 2 cycles. But I mean, do people really think Litecoin is just going to go like this forever? I don't. Yeah, Bitcoin is programmed to have the block halving every 4 years, but that does not mean that crypto has to have a bear market every 4 years. If crypto gets mass adopted, it can completely deviate from that. And I think people should be looking at charts like this, NVIDIA and Litecoin, because this could easily be a deviation from the 4-year cycle. We could go into a bigger picture bull market that lasts longer than a typical 4-year cycle. And it's overdue for a big pump, Litecoin is. And once it starts, it's been accumulating for this huge pattern right here. I think it could do something like NVIDIA did and go nuts, you know? Could easily do that. So that's a great question, AJ. I think it's 100% possible we've deviated from a 4-year cycle. Operation Shutdown says, thanks for this live stream this morning, Dallin. Yeah, thank you. KV, I want to know your thoughts on cycle extension too. Yeah, so it does look like we are headed into an extended cycle. This could last until 2029. You know, we could be headed into a repeat of the Roaring 20s. A lot of people don't realize this, but the Roaring 20s, we had this big parabolic run in the Roaring 20s right before the Great Depression happened. And that last little bit right there of the cycle, that top of the Roaring 20s, that's where everybody got stupid rich. Even everyday average people got super rich in the Roaring 20s, okay? Well, the stock market is kind of set up for this, and the crypto markets are definitely set up for this. So I think it's 100% possible for us to have a repeat of the Roaring 20s. Crypto kind of being like the forefront technology in AI too of this whole Roaring 20s repeat. And that's why a deviation cycle of the 4 years is 100% possible, because we could start to go into a bigger bull market. Now, I don't think it's going to last forever, but I think it could go all the way till 2029. So that's my view on the 4-year cycle and a possible extended cycle for crypto. A repeat of the Roaring 20s. It could last all the way till 2029. Do-it-yourself modular sessions. What's up? What's up, my friend? Thank you for tuning in. Crypto Explained. What is up, my brother? Thank you for tuning in to today's live stream. Protagonist says A0 recovery. Tectonic. A zero recovery? I'm not sure what you mean by that. Is that a coin? A0? Yeah, it is a coin. Oh man, there's too many for me to keep up with, you guys. I don't know how I'm ever going to keep up with all these cryptos. This thing could recover. There's volume down here. It could recover. It looks kind of dead, but sometimes coins that look dead recover. People called Bitcoin dead like 100 times. They called Ethereum dead a bunch. They've called everything dead. They called the stock market dead. People always say stuff is dead. And that's usually, sometimes at least, it's a really good buy signal. Every once in a while you get something that just dies off into oblivion. But if there's volume and there's a community and there's still development happening, if it's not truly dead, it's probably not truly dead, you know. I don't know a lot about A0, so I can't speak with authority as much on this coin. But it's possible it recovers. Carlos, if someone has 300K on Bitcoin, would you recommend to convert it into Litecoin now? You know, if you have that much Bitcoin, I wouldn't say all at one order. So the Bitcoin dominance could see a small bounce here in the very short term. We have a little bit of bullish divergence here on Bitcoin dominance forming. We did break bearish out of a bear flag right here, but then we've started forming bullish divergence. So Bitcoin dominance could see a little bit of a bounce right here, just a teeny one. So the best thing to do would be to slowly do it, like little bits at a time. Like if you have 300K, do like 50K. And then a week later do another 50K. And a week later do another 50K. And slowly move your Bitcoin over from Bitcoin into Litecoin. And it's good still, you know, it's good to have a little Bitcoin. I wouldn't say to sell all your Bitcoin for Litecoin. As bullish as I am on Litecoin, you might want to have a little in there on Bitcoin still, because there's days when Bitcoin dominance, even in alt season, there's days when Bitcoin dominance will see a little bounce. So having some Bitcoin kind of neutralizes your portfolio for when alts don't do quite as good in short-term bounces on Bitcoin, right? So you'd want to move it over time, but yeah, I would say it's getting to that time where Bitcoin is going to just keep going lower here in terms of dominance and higher in terms of price. So holding altcoins is going to be more lucrative than Bitcoin. So to start making that transition sooner rather than later is going to be profitable for you. Dallin, do you do leverage trading or just spot trading? I do leverage trading. Apex is generally where I do leverage trading. I will do some swing trading on crypto. I believe spot is the best thing to have your crypto. Like, you should have a majority in spot and only a little bit of leverage trading. Very small percentage. But yeah, I do some leverage trading. Yeah, I do. Uh, Booger Slots. Man, your name is wild. He says, Avantis going to 20x. Cheers. Avantis? I don't know what that is. Avantis? Avantis USDC. Yeah, this looks good. This has a strong uptrend here, a little bit of a pullback, but this is a strong uptrend forming. It's worth $1. It could do 20x. I could see it. This looks nice. This is a good, strong uptrend forming. The trend is your friend. A lot of times these uptrends really start to take off and go really high. So yeah, I could see it. 100%. LTC is looking good. Yeah, we've been talking about LTC all day today, Jacob. So definitely, if you just tuned in, go rewatch this live stream because I've been talking about how bullish Litecoin is like this whole stream. I should have named it random or surprise Litecoin live stream because it was like 50% about Litecoin today. What about your coin, Dallin? I'm bullish on my coin, but I can't tell you guys like I don't know all of like the legal stuff yet. I've done a little bit of research on the legal stuff. I do have my own coin, high altitude investing, HAI coin. I own a little bit. Full transparency, I own a little bit. I have 2% of the supply, and I don't plan on selling. And I'm just posting here on pump.fun, doing live streams on here. And yeah, I think my personal view is I'm going to keep it in my description, keep it on my website. There's a link for it on my website at the bottom of my site here, next to my email and business phone number here. And yeah, I'm going to keep it in the description of my videos, talk about it, do streams on here, and I think over time it could grow. But I can't promise a return on it. It's just an experiment. I'm pretty sure legally I can't promise any returns, but it's kind of like almost, in a way, it'd be like if you had a company, you had a stock for your company. It's almost like a little experiment where this is my YouTube channel coin. It's kind of cool, Cool that you can do that. So Christ is Lord says, bro, what's the point of owning Ethereum Classic? Will it run? I'm not a big ETC guy. Some people really love Ethereum Classic. I would just as soon tell people to buy Ethereum. I know some people, because of what happened with the DAO and stuff, they view ETC as like the original Ethereum. At one point in time, I mismeasured, tongue twister there. I mismeasured the percentage gain and thought that Ethereum Classic did a bigger percentage gain in 2021 than Ethereum did. But then I looked at the charts a little closer, and Ethereum actually did a bigger percentage gain than Ethereum Classic. So it's not even like it does a bigger percentage gain in the bull markets. Grayscale, I believe there is a Grayscale ETC fund. Grayscale ETC fund. Grayscale, maybe not. Ethereum Classic Trust, yeah. Yeah, they do have an Ethereum Classic Trust. So Grayscale's putting money into it. They have like $233 million worth of Grayscale assets under management. My tongue is getting a little twisted today. And they do have a Grayscale Ethereum Classic Trust. So it could go up because of big institutions. But I would just as soon tell people to buy Ethereum. Just my personal view, my 2 cents on that whole scenario. AV says, OG wisdom. Well, thank you, man. I try to share those golden gems of wisdom in these live streams, so... do you like Litecoin? It's so funny you ask that, Christ is Lord, because I've been talking about Litecoin this entire live stream. So if you just tuned in, I've been talking about how bullish Litecoin is like for almost half of this live stream. So definitely rewatch it if you just tuned in. I'm very bullish on Litecoin. I'm a big Litecoin believer. I think it'll do big things. So, well, cool, you guys. We're over an hour in, so I don't want to go too crazy. Got some stuff to do today. But yeah, thank you for tuning in. Keep your eyes focused on the prize. We've got big things coming for Bitcoin, big things coming for the altcoins, big things coming for crypto. Watch the daily candlesticks. It's always possible. We do a little baby correction here, 10% on Bitcoin, or 5% on Bitcoin, maybe 10% on your altcoins. It doesn't have to happen, but it could happen. So don't panic sell if it does happen. But in the big picture, we're still set up for a big parabolic run. If we have a little dip, it'll be a great buy opportunity. We don't have to have a dip, but if we have one, it'll be a great buy opportunity. So that's kind of my views on crypto. Stay focused on the big picture. Keep your eyes on the prize. Big things are coming. The big picture is a very, very exciting time to be a crypto investor because of what's coming for the markets. So thank you guys. I love you. I appreciate you, and I look forward to seeing you guys in future videos and live streams. And as always, stay profitable out there.